Hello, everybody, and welcome to day 3 of the Simply Mindful Meditation mini class that we're putting on this week. I'm super excited to be sharing this information with you, and today we're going to be talking about overcoming myths, common challenges, and limiting beliefs in your meditation practice. So I'm Sarah Francescuti, and I am a coach with Exhale and Thrive Coaching, and the Simply Mindful meditation approach that I've created through teaching people for over 6 years now, my own practice for more than 10, is something that I'm super excited to share with you. And through these years of teaching and my own discoveries, I found that there's common myths that cause people to not necessarily try meditation or to find that they feel like they're failing when they're not. So I really am excited to share this with you all today, because these are the areas that will help you overcome things that may get in your way from your meditation practice so that it's easier, you're more likely to do it so you can gain all those benefits. And then you also understand sort of what the experience can be all about if you are new to meditation. Because the myths sometimes have us confused and expecting something different. So we'll be talking about this today as well. I want to share with you a guided meditation that I made for my class back in 2012, I believe, when I first started teaching, because one of the common challenges was the noisy mind. So I have a guided meditation that I'll be sharing with you as well. So let's get started. So hopefully you have tuned in to the other 2 days. If not, this email will have links below for the day, so you can catch up on day 1 and 2 if you'd like. So let's jump into day 3. So overcoming myths, common challenges, and limiting beliefs in your meditation practice. Okay, so we all have beliefs about things in our lives, and our beliefs influence our habits and our behaviors and our thoughts. So in coaching, we work not just on the external behaviors and the actions, we actually go deeper into the roots of the actions. So you can think about it kind of like an onion or a layered sort of idea, where your actions are the most outside external layer, right? So what you act and what you do and how you behave is the outside part, and what influences that are your thoughts. So if you have thoughts around things, then they're going to influence how you act. Then our beliefs are actually below the thoughts. So we could work on trying to change the activities and the actions from the outside, but if we're not addressing the inner, deeper parts of beliefs and your thoughts, then really it's not going to have much impact. You're not going to be able to make change like you want to by trying from the outside. So we go a little bit deeper. So that's what I'm going to be bringing you through today. So instead of just a basic here's how to meditate course, I'm wanting to really weave in this coaching approach as well, so that you can really have more transformation with your practice. You can use this belief assessment in any areas of your life, though I'm using it here in meditation today to help you out. So if we have beliefs that something will be hard, or we don't have the time to be successful, or the skill set, or the knowledge, or fill in the blank here, then those beliefs will trip us up and make it harder to succeed. So like I said, today's exercises in the workbook includes a review of common misconceptions and myths around meditation, and also in the workbook we'll have questions to you so that you can do your own journaling and self-discovery about your own personal beliefs that may be coming up, that arise, that you can clear out so that you'll be more successful with your practice. And then we're going to talk about meditation beliefs in general, and we'll review any challenges that you may be experiencing in your practice so far. This is a great time to connect in the Facebook group, where we can actually have a dialogue and talk about things together. So I'm excited that some of you have joined the Facebook group, and I'm looking forward to continuing our conversation there. So let's jump into the top myths of meditation. So the number 1 myth is that meditation is difficult. So part of what I've shared with you in the last 2 days is to try to kind of dispel this myth and to show that it really can be easy. that you can sit in silence or listening to a guided meditation for a few minutes and just rest, and it can have benefits for you. It doesn't need to be complicated, doesn't need to be done a certain way. I believe that it should be approachable and really an easy thing to integrate into our lives. Myth number 2 is the number one challenge that I found with my clients and students over the years, is a belief that you need to quiet your mind, otherwise you're failing at meditation. Something is wrong with you, or you don't understand how to make it work and you just can't figure it out. This is the point of the practice, is becoming connected to your inner thoughts, your inner voice, you know, your intuition, your personal self. And part of that is noticing that the monkey mind chatters a lot, that's its purpose, is to talk to us, to assess things, to consider whether we're safe or not, or whether we need to be doing something different or not. And what meditation can do is you actually make friends with this, the verbal chatter. And you actually, this is the point where the change happens. So you may have heard me in my video yesterday talking about the expansion phase of the meditation, where you're actually changing to a meta awareness, where you're actually observing things. So instead of being under the water looking at the surface where it's all choppy, you're actually surfing on top, or even soaring above like an eagle, and you're able to see things differently. So when you can make that shift from hearing noisy voices in your mind to then seeing those noisy voices, you're actually shifting into that meta awareness, and that's where huge changes can occur. And that is kind of one of the big points of this meditation practice, especially mindfulness meditation, is observing your thoughts that are separate from you. And all you do is say, oh, I'm having a thought, I'm thinking about my grocery list or what happened at work today, and that's okay. The rest and the recovery part comes when we're in the quiet. So when you have thoughts, you just bring yourself back to the breath, so then you can just quiet the body and the mind again. So I'll be sharing a guided meditation with you, and that can help with that. So let's jump over to myth number 3. So it is commonly believed that it takes years of dedicated meditation practice to receive any benefits. And science shows that it can happen, we can change our brain, or start to, within a matter of a few days, and maybe 10 minutes a day. So really, the impacts can be immediate. My clients find themselves feeling completely different before meditation to after a meditation session. So you can even see the difference in one session. Of course, the long-lasting benefits on your health and your life will come with more practice, just like working out or eating healthy or other types of new behaviors. So the fourth myth around meditation is that there's a belief that it is an escape from reality or an escape from the world, but it isn't. You know, anything can be used as escapism. You know, some of you may be Netflix watchers, and it's easy to get into, you know, a really good show or a habit of watching TV all the time, and that can be escapism. Though the other end of the spectrum, using something for enjoyment can be fine. But meditation is a little bit different. Especially in mindfulness meditation, you're actually looking at what's present for you that day, and whatever comes up is what you'll be noticing. And so it isn't really a disconnection from the world. You're actually connecting more to yourself, which then gives you the ability to connect more with the world. So myth number 5, this is another common challenge, is a belief that people don't have enough time to meditate. So like we've already talked a few times this week about how it doesn't have to be a lot of time. You don't need 40 minutes or an hour to make the benefits happen in your life. You can do this in a matter of 10 minutes, even 1 minute. You know, taking a moment to observe your breath, noticing it coming in through the nose, the lungs expanding on the inhale, And then exhaling naturally when the lungs are full. One mindful breath like that is a meditation. So we don't have to make it big or complicated or overwhelming. We don't have to run the marathon to be able to get it. You can get out and just walk, around the block. It can be short and easy. And if you feel like you don't have enough time, then actually slowing down for your meditation will actually shift your brain waves, which we'll talk about tomorrow, and show you that the stuff that you have on your plate maybe not as overwhelming as you may feel. It shifts your brain waves, shifts your perspective, and it actually makes it easier to handle things when you feel like you're overwhelmed. So if you feel like you're overwhelmed, you actually would even more greatly benefit from taking a few minutes out to meditate. So I encourage you to try it and see how it feels for you. So myth number 6 is that meditation is a spiritual or religious practice. There's a lot of background and history with spiritual and religious approaches to meditation or prayer, or there's many different things out there that are similar. Meditation and how I teach it can be spiritual, but I believe that it can be approached by anybody from any background, that really it is a human nature how we run this body and this experience of being human, that is a common thing. And there's so many science research articles and things out there now that have been looking at it that show the physical changes. However, if you want to take it into the spiritual or religious, you can as well, but it doesn't have to be. It is basically mastering your brain, creating brain fitness and health, just like you would physically. And then the final myth that's really common is the belief that meditation needs to have some sort of transcendent experience. There will be trumpets and big bright lights and happy joy, something or other. And sometimes there are moments of bliss, and sometimes there are moments of joy. Other times, there isn't. And it really is kind of whatever's happening for you and where you are in your journey. You don't have to be having something fancy going on to be able to make it be a meditation or to be beneficial or for you to enjoy it. So I encourage you to go in with an open mind of curiosity and see what your meditation practice is for you. And I'm happy to be here to help support you as a meditation coach, to share with you some practices that I've gone through and some of my students as well, so that you can maybe get through some of these myths and these challenges a little bit easier. Everyone's situation and journey is different, so I'd love to talk to you more in our Facebook group about what you're experiencing. So some of the common challenges we've already talked about, but I wanted to talk to you about some of the solutions. So the number one common challenge that I've discovered with myself and all of the people that I've shared this with over the years, and is common through meditators across the board, is a challenge with the noisy mind, like I mentioned. So really what you can do, and I'll describe that in the guided meditation that I'll be sharing with you today. You'll see a link below this video here, which helps you with quieting the verbal chatter. So verbal chatter is the verbal centers of the brain. So if you want, you can give yourself something else to chat about in your brain by actually counting your breath, or doing other techniques where you're actually using your verbal centers instead of chatting about something else. So you can explore that further if you'd like by looking at the guided meditation. But really it comes with compassion. So like I mentioned before, you notice that the mind is talking and chattery, and then you bring it back to the breath again. You notice that it is chatting and you accept with what is happening and you bring it back. You don't need to force yourself to be quiet. That's almost like putting duct tape on your mouth when your mind feels like it has something to say. So you don't need to do that. This is a practice of compassion and acceptance. No forcing or judgment or control here. It's more relaxed and accepting. Another challenge that is common is finding it hard to sit still, or it can be uncomfortable. So I encourage you, just in your meditation, if you're like starting to fall asleep, just adjust a little bit, or try a different posture. This again doesn't need to be hard. You don't need to be forcing yourself here. Do what is easy so you can move through it in a relaxed and compassionate way. A lot of yoga poses were actually created to help people's bodies be able to be more open and supple so that they can sit in longer meditations. So if you're serious about this and want to get yourself into a classic meditation pose where you're sitting cross-legged, then I encourage you to explore yoga and work on that from the physical side, and you'll also get a lot of meditative benefits from a yoga practice as well. So the solution to finding it hard to sit still is to use compassion and find a way that will work for you. We already talked about the challenge of no time. So one thing that can really help with you is to reconnect to your why. So that's why we started that with day one, is to figure out why you want to meditate. What goals are you looking for? And really, what is the emotional motivator for meditating in the first place? And then the next step would be paying yourself first. So instead of letting the day take over and having everything else happen first, just as if you would be treating your financial situation by saving funds first and then using the remaining amount for other things, you want to do the same thing with your time. So pay yourself first by meditating at the beginning of the day. And then you have the rest of the day and it can be filled up. And then that doesn't matter because you've already meditated. The benefit to that is then you're actually starting your day with your cup full, replenished, calm, grounded, and centered. And then the rest of the day will likely feel much more easy and much more flow in it. So I encourage you to experiment with this and see how it works for you, if that makes a difference or not. I find it does for me, for sure. Another common challenge is feeling drowsy or sleepy in your meditation. So partially, that is okay. I've had some people fall asleep in my classes, and it comes from because they haven't given themselves time to rest. And so their bodies are saying, yes, let's sleep now, it's time to rest. But another part of it, if you're wanting to train yourself into more focus and more concentration and all of that, then you actually want to maybe shift your posture to something maybe more upright. See if you're pinched off somehow or slumped, because that can really drain the body. So make sure that you're sitting in an upright position. Perhaps focus on deeper breathing so you're bringing more oxygen into the body and more energy into the body. It's also part of a process as your brain waves shift, like we'll talk about tomorrow. You're going to notice different stages and different experiences as you go through that. Another thing is maybe you want to do a meditation with your eyes open, but just sort of a soft gaze, or even a walking meditation where you're going to be having more energy and not falling asleep. But the answer to this one, again, is using compassion. So whatever you experience is fine. But if you're looking for a certain outcome, then maybe you want to adjust things a little bit. And then finally, another common challenge is the opposite of feeling drowsy and sleepy, is where people are actually feeling over agitated and finding it hard to actually settle and sit and relax and rest in meditation. So what you can do is actually do something active first to unwind your body. Maybe you need to do something around the house or get out and do some exercise, or maybe you need to take care of something before you feel that you can take the time to rest. But don't use this as an excuse to not meditate. Just maybe give yourself some time to rest, unwind first. Another tool, like we'll talk about again tomorrow, is that you're just basically in a different brainwave state. So I'll talk about the different stages, and if you're in that heightened go, go, go mode, we can actually work to bring you down. So one thing I've already shared with you before is the power of the breath. So if you're feeling agitated, you can try these different, doing something more active, like I've talked about, or even just try deep belly breathing, where you bring the air into the lungs, and when you do that, you actually expand the belly outwards. So it's breathing, you can even put your hands on your stomach if you want, and breathe in, and feeling the stomach expand on the inhale, And then exhale naturally. And what that does, I've mentioned before, is it expands the diaphragm and actually tells the parasympathetic nervous system that it can come out of fight and flight and it can actually start to relax. So even just a few deep breaths like that can help. And then, of course, like with all of these challenges, is bring compassion into it. If you're agitated that day, that's fine. That's what you're being mindful of. You're noticing and you're accepting that. So work with it in a way that is loving and accepting and supportive of you in your journey and where you are today. So hopefully some of these are helpful. If you want to discuss it further, let's chat in the Facebook group or contact me directly and we can discover that more together. And I encourage you to check out the Quieting the Verbal Chatter guided meditation. I've had quite some good feedback on that over the years. People saying that it has been quite helpful with giving them some tools about dealing with a noisy mind like we talked about. So now let's just talk about beliefs and reframing them. So we've talked about your myth, the common myths, and what's actually true. We've talked about common challenges and how to overcome them, mainly with compassion, if you saw a theme there. And now let's talk about the beliefs. So you can have beliefs, positive and maybe limiting beliefs. What I'd encourage you to look at as you're doing the workbook self-discovery process today, or when you sit down to do that, is actually look at what may be limiting you and what beliefs may be getting in the way, okay? So first, you may want to explore what you believe about meditation in general. So one example could be that people need to practice for years before they see any benefits. And then you can reframe them by first becoming aware of them, which you'll be doing by writing them down or thinking about them as you're listening to this today. But then you reframe it, okay? So when another example is if you believe about your own ability to meditate is that you don't have the time, then a way to reframe that is to say that I choose what I prioritize in my life. And then what can flow from that is I choose to prioritize meditation over others. So really, the reframe piece is taking you from a victim mentality into a creator of your life in a positive way. So I encourage you to see if you can flip that around. Now, this is where a coach can really come in handy to help you with unpacking these things and work in doing the reframing together as a team. But you can also do it yourself. So if you want to explore this further with some support from me, I'd love to chat with you about it. Just let me know. But just taking some time to see, you know, if you believe something A, but it seems like a limiting thing, then I encourage you to try and explore reframing it into B and seeing if you can put it in a way that's actually going to be supportive for you and why you're wanting to create in your life. So this is a very powerful tool. I've tried to put it simply here on these slides just to get it across. But you can use this in any area of your life. It doesn't have to be around meditation. I'm sharing it here just because this is a great way to get it out there and share it with you. But I encourage you, if there's anything else that comes up as you're journaling about your beliefs or either around meditation or other things, play with the reframing and see what comes up. And I'd love to hear about it in the Facebook group. So your homework assignment for today is going to be either posting what your reframed beliefs are around meditation and your ability to practice, or any challenges that you're having that are coming up in your practice that you want to chat about. So post either one of those in the Facebook group today and we can chat about it. And I look forward to exploring these things further. So just to summarize what we covered today, we talked about the 7 most common myths around meditation and the actual truths about them. We also discussed common challenges and some solutions to be able to work through those, and also how to look at some of your beliefs and reframe any of them that may be limiting so that they can actually support you in creating a life and a meditation practice and basically, you know, your experience with the world in the way that you want to versus letting them get to you and actually limit you. So thank you for joining in for day 3 of the Simply Mindful mini class. I'm excited to continue the journey with you tomorrow. We'll be talking about the brain impacts of meditation, which I absolutely love. It's some cool stuff. So I can't wait to talk to you about that. So if you want to check in with us on the Facebook group, I'll be doing a Facebook Live and this evening, as well as you can see the recordings in the group. So thank you all for tuning in to day 3. And I look forward to connecting with you again tomorrow. And all the best with your meditation practice. Can't wait to hear about how it's going with each one of you. Have a wonderful day.